Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Rashbi in the house with another weekly 10-minute Torah. Once again, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and hope you're getting a lot out of this. So this is Rabbi Stephen, and we are basically at the end of the Torah. And we have our two holidays this week. Monday is Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day of Assembly, which marks the end of Sukkot. And then we have Simchat Torah, okay, that starts on Tuesday. So we would have done a service, because you'll probably get this after the fact. So we're doing a service Monday late afternoon, early evening. Start at 6:30, we do the Shemini Atzeret. We do Yisker, that's one of the Yisker services there. And for the evening service, we do Simchat Torah, carry around the Torahs. And what do? We lay it down, and this is if we were to do it in the morning. If we were to do a service Tuesday morning, then we would have a Torah service. We would read the last portion of the Torah, which is the Zoet HaBracha, and these are the blessings. It's a fairly short portion, but then immediately we roll the Torah all the way to the beginning, and we read the first chapter of Genesis and part of the second chapter. So, Zoet HaBracha, these are the blessings. It is not even Moshe's last day. It is his last few hours. So he gets up there and he recites the blessing for the Israelites. He goes by tribe. And this is very similar to the blessings that Israel, or Jacob, Yaakov, recited for his sons on his deathbed. The blessings are a little different. Why? Because Jacob was blessing his sons, seeing perhaps that they would be the progeny of the tribes, kind of giving them both a blessing. Some of them were kind of warnings, like Levi and Simeon and Shimon. Their revenge is their passion, that type of thing. Now, it's been about 500 years, 400 or 500 years. And the 70 souls that went down to Egypt are now almost 2.5 million people. So Moshe Rabbeinu is not just blessing the sons, he's blessing the tribes and what they've become and their characteristics. So you're going to see a little bit of difference there. Within the blessing is also some advice. How do you handle the future? Okay. So he goes through that, then he looks out and he has the vision, he has the sight, he sees the promised land on top of the mountain. And he turns around and he goes to his tomb. We don't know where he was buried. We don't know how he died or what happened, what his last moments are. And that is by design. It is by design because, think about it, if people knew where Moshe Rabbeinu was buried, what do? They turn it into a shrine. Now, why that? And not the tomb of the patriarchs, the cave of Machpelah. Why not turn that into a tomb? Well, our prophets were great. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Some in the Zohar even say that Adam and Eve were buried there. They were the beginning of this great heritage that we call Judaism. It was Moshe Rabbeinu that made it into a way of life. Not him, but he was the instrument that Hashem used to give us all the commandments. So, it's Moshe Rabbeinu that was such a great person that he had that direct connection, that intimate relationship with Hashem, that constantly, as they were leaving, Hashem gave him the instructions, told him about the various plagues he was going to wrought, that were wrought on the Egyptians. He gave him the 10 Commandments and the other 603, told him the instructions for the Levites and the craftsmen to build the tabernacle, etc., etc. So Moshe was such a great personage, such a monumental person in history, that if people were to see that, they might turn it into a religion. What happened with the golden calf? People were very quick to do that. When the two kingdoms split, after the death of Solomon, and the two sons were fighting over the kingdom, and they just split it, the northern kingdom descended into idolatry. One golden calf wasn't enough, had to have two. So there it is. So now we re-roll the scrolls. So this Shabbat, we will be reading from the book of Genesis, the first portion, which is Breisheet, which is Genesis basically. The book of Breisheet, and the first portion is Breisheet. And what do we see? And let's pull out a few different concepts on that. And as I do this year after year, I want to give you different aspects of each portion. So let's talk about Adam and Eve. Let's jump right to that. So the word Adam was the name of the first man, and it means man. Adam comes from the word Adamah, which means earth. Because what happens? God creates Adam from the earth, right? He just brings up the dust and forms it, the clay. We've all seen images, and it's kind of metaphorical, but the whole point is that we come from the earth. Now, a modern lesson here might be, if we come from the earth, then ecology is very important, because we have that one-on-one relationship to the earth. We come from the earth and we're buried at death, and we go back to the earth. It's the cycle of life. It really is. And then God puts Adam in a deep sleep, as it says, and he takes a rib. Now that's kind of a very literal interpretation of what the text actually says. It's not like, God says, okay, God's a surgeon, cuts open his body a little bit with the anesthesia, pulls out a rib, puts it down, and, sprouts a woman. The woman was pulled partly from Adam. Now, let me give you kind of an interesting concept. We've talked about that, the way the Sansino, the book that we use in our synagogue, the Blue Chumash, edited by the late great Dr. Rabbi Hertz, who was the chief rabbi of the British Empire, how he edited that. And then you've got the Art Scroll. That's the conservative. The Art Scroll is the Orthodox. According to the Orthodox, and they take a more literal approach when they are dissecting and drilling down into the Chumash, into the Torah, they say God created man and woman. Now, they say that God created a being that was man on one side and woman on the other, and when Hashem pulled the rib out of Eve, he basically ultimately pulled them apart into two people. Okay? Accept that as you will. But the point of it is this. You've got two chapters, the first two chapters, and they say a little bit different things. People said there's some people that think that the first chapter and the second chapter prove that they were written by different people at different times. Whereas the accepted commentary, the accepted interpretation, is that the second chapter just goes into a little bit more detail. It kind of fills in the gaps. The first chapter says that God created man and woman, period. So it's not like he created man and then as an afterthought he created woman. Or my joke is, why did God create woman last? And why did God create man first? Well, you always make a rough draft before you create perfection. Again, accept it as you will. But the point of it is, God created man and woman. And created us for different parts, all right? He created man and woman so that they could procreate. They would have to come together and procreate to make our species. Okay, that was part of Hashem's intention. Now, I remember years ago, I had a rabbi, and we were doing a confirmation class. I was about 15 at the time. And he basically said that some people believe that Adam and Eve were the first humans. It's not like God created humanity, but some people think they were the missing link, between whatever humans evolved from. That was Adam and Eve. So let's also now take a look at this so-called original sin, which in Judaism we do not believe. Okay, there's no original sin. There was the snake, who some people believe was really Satan. Satan acting on behalf of Hashem. Man and woman were in the Garden of Eden. They lived a very idyllic life. And had they stayed there, as one previous clergy we had, a cantor, said the whole Tanakh, the whole Talmud would be like this. Adam and Eve were created and they lived long, forever after in the Garden of Gan Eden. But they ate from the tree of knowledge. So they now had free will. They went from innocent to human beings, the human beings that we are now. They had that opportunity, that mentation to be able to discern good and evil. They had the knowledge, okay? So Eve took a bite of the fruit, gave it to Adam. Adam took a bite. And Hashem knew, they saw what was going on. He said, what did you do? Kind of a rhetorical question. Adam says, that woman that you sent to me made me eat it. So I can imagine a midrash that where Eve is sitting there going, what are you doing throwing me under the bus? You're the one that went around in the Garden of Eden and named everything. You didn't know what that was? Come on. It's like two kids. Well, who broke the lamp? Well, they threw the ball at me. Why didn't you catch it? Back and forth. That's basically what it was. Each of them kind of, trying to take, away the responsibility from themselves. And we've been doing it ever since. Just look at politics today. Excuse me. But that's really it. It's not that woman led man into sin. I mean, come on. Adam was there and he went around. He named everything. He knew what it was. He's just trying to get out of it. And Eve was probably more innocent. She was more trusting. So I'm not making a case to blame one over the other, but I just want to put that into context. All right. So it's interesting that to put it all together, Simchat Torah, we finish with Zot HaBracha. Moshe Rabbeinu goes off and to his destiny to die, and we roll the Torah. We have the birth of humanity. So consider that. Shabbat Shalom. Hope to see you on services Friday night. Will be 7 o'clock, and first Friday of the month it'll be October, so we'll have a Tat Shabbat at 5:45, and for Shabbat we will see you for the reading of Genesis. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much.